Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another developer Q&A video for Eve Echoes. For those of you who don't know, each week the developers of Eve Echoes, NetEase, take 4 questions that have been posed by the community, respond to them, and then post those answers onto both the official Eve Echoes Facebook page and Twitter profile. Now, I know that not everyone has access to social media or particularly wants to, therefore each week I go over the dev Q&A, I read the questions and the responses, and I give my own personal thoughts and opinions as to how this may affect the game. Of course, this is just my own personal thoughts and opinions. You will have your own as well, and I would love to hear them down in the comment section below. Speaking of hearing your opinions, please do make sure as well that if you've got a question or an idea or something you think would really benefit Eve Echoes, head into the description of this video. There is a link there that will take you through to a Google document that gets passed straight to the developers. That's how you pose these questions. Any question chosen to be answered wins a month of Basic Omega. Now, before we jump in on this one, because there's some pretty cool stuff here this week, I'm actually really excited about these questions. I just want to apologise. This week's been a bit up and down and a bit hectic for me. I finished off last week with one heck of a sore throat with uveitis, like really swelling up badly for me. That sort of flu hasn't quite gone away. I have been tested for COVID. No, it is not that, fortunately. And we've also had it looks like we've had the beginnings of our new internet line being put in. At long last, after 14 months of harassing them for it, we put in the application last August and were told 8 to 11 weeks. We finally have the connection. We're just now waiting for them to basically finish everything off and switch it all on. So who knows, with fibre optic, maybe I'll be able to do a bit more CTA and maybe even some streams. Wouldn't that be lovely? Anyway, here we are then with the weekly developer Q&A for the 13th to 19th of October. Ooh, we're closing in on Halloween. First of all, would it be possible to add more details to transactions listed in the wallet, specifically for items that are sold? Like, what was actually sold and the quantity? Having just market transaction is not all that helpful. And you know what? I may not sell on the market all that often, but yeah, I kind of get this one, and I'm fully behind that. We need more information on exactly what those actually were. There was once upon a time when it was just your item has sold. When you got the notifications, your item has sold on the market. That has now changed to like your re-allocation Energy Nosferatu has sold, and that you get the notifications through that the item is sold. But it would be nice to actually have that then twinned up with the wallet. And I can't imagine that that would be too difficult, but let's see what Lance.dot says. Thanks for your feedback. We planned to add item information to transactions, but the development of this feature has been put on hold as there are many other urgent tasks currently. We will put this back on our schedule subsequently. I'm not sure I would personally qualify adding capital ships, dreadnoughts and carriers, something that ultimately don't really add anything at all worthwhile to Eve Echoes at this point in time, urgent, but hey, that's just my opinion, and you guys are pretty familiar with that by now, I'm sure. Ultimately, it's nice to see that basically once carriers and dreadnoughts are out of the system, once capital ships are out of the system, it looks like we might go back to getting some actually useful content, some quality of life changes. Now, don't get me wrong, I think adding new ships is all well and good. I just think that if you're going to add new ships, they should actually do something to the game, which currently dreadnoughts and carriers don't. But hey, that is a discussion we've had in many other videos. We're not going to have it again here. Can we set 2 bases as the home base for clone reconstruction? Oh god, yes. So much this. Perhaps we can be given the option to open up a second home base slot by paying Plex or Aurum. Being able to choose between 2 locations for clone reconstruction, cut down on travel times between 2 points, and improve the overall gaming experience. Now, before we go into Cloud's response here, this is actually what happens in EVE Online. You have what are called jump clones. Basically, you can set your clones... First of all, the backstory. The lore in EVE is that you are a capsuleer, that essentially you have a whole bank of clones being grown somewhere in the universe, and you are inside this capsule. And when you die, when that capsule is destroyed, basically it takes a scan of all of your brainwaves and everything to do with you. It then quickly kills you instantly with like an injection so that you don't have to feel any of the pain of the capsule being breached. Then it transmits all of that data to your clone bank, where you are basically reborn in a new body as if you had never died. You just kind of literally close your eyes and suddenly blink and you're awake again in a new clone bank. That is a big part of the EVE lore, and jump clones was basically the concept of, well, what if I had a clone bank in point A and a clone at point B? That means I could theoretically swap between those. When I'm done with, doing stuff in nullsec, for example, I could dispose of that clone or park it up and transfer my consciousness to a clone that I have set up in highsec. The advantage of this is that you still need to have ships in both stations. It doesn't really help with PvP all that much. It's not like you can suddenly jump into your enemy's station. You'd have to get there first of all and actually set it as a clone bank. Then you'd need to put ships there as well, because otherwise you're just going to basically jump a new clone, wake up in a clone in a station that has no ships, and you're going to be stuck in a Corvette, which, okay, some people find that fun, but the point is it doesn't break anything. They talked recently about adding a Yanjung engine to the game, which seemed to be their idea of doing jump clones, and I would really say to NetEase, in fact I have said to NetEase, please don't. Just go with jump clones. It is such a good idea. Like, literally, once every 12 hours, heck, maybe once every 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. I think 24 hours seems a long time, but then again, it's how long you're outside of a corporation as well, so maybe once every 12 hours. Once every 12 hours, same as the PvP timer, you can pick when you can choose to change your home base between one of the stations you've set. So you set Jita and you set Pater, just as two off the top of my head. Jita and Pater, and you've got those both set as bases. Now, Jita is your primary base, so when you get destroyed, you go back to Jita. But if you wanted to, you could change your primary base to Pater, at which point, now when you get destroyed, you go back to Pater instead. But there's a 12-hour cooldown on being able to change your primary station. That, to me, would work so well in EVE Echoes, and that would really solve a lot of the complaints and issues that we have. But what does Cloud say? Good suggestion, yes. Yes, it really is. This feature does make it more convenient for players who use Rebirth to travel, namely everyone. But because we haven't decided on implant design details, we don't want to encourage players to use Rebirth to travel through systems. Therefore, this feature will not be added in the near future. Oh my goodness, no. I kind of see where they're coming from here, but I disagree with that. Implants. Implants are basically things that you can put into your clone. This means that when you're cloning, they are literally neural implant chips that will give you, I don't know, bonus to small cannon damage, or slightly faster align times and things like that. They're just minor skill bonuses that get attached to your character directly. And if your capsule is ever breached, then you lose those implants. It's why in EVE Online it has often been considered rude to capsule someone, basically to pod them. Once you kill someone in EVE Online, you usually let the capsule escape, unless it's a wartime situation. If you're just going low-sec piracy approach, you've blown up the ship, you let the capsule escape because that's got the really expensive implants on, and those implants are lost on death. Now, to me, I think this could easily be solved. You just have a clone bank, and whichever clone bank you are set to, you wake up with that clone's implants. And I do believe that if they add implants, that yeah, they should be destructible. That's kind of a point. It's why they're expensive. They're like rigs that basically when they're destroyed, they're gone forever, but you can't insure your clone. So when they are gone forever. And I'm just not sure I agree with the idea of we're not going to put this really useful thing in because we don't want people to get used to using it and then have to, actually think about using it later on when it comes to jump clones. I don't know. I think there's probably a middle ground there. I'm going to move on at this point. I think there's a lot of conversation we can have about that, and I'd love to hear your folks' thoughts and opinions on that one specifically in the comment section down below. So please, let me know your opinion there on jump clones. Yeah, just before we go onwards, actually, I would also be absolutely fine with that starting out as a Plex thing. I think that everyone should have the ability to use it at, say, Tech 7. At Tech 7, you get an additional, jump clone spot, but I do think you could actually monetize a couple of extra ones. Like if you wanted 3 or 4, maybe even up to 5, you can buy additional ones for Plex. Kind of like how games like Mech Arena or War Robots allow you to buy additional slots in your party. That kind of thing. I don't know. That's my thoughts. Anyway, moving on. Number 3. With the new capital ships due to be released, will the size limit on Nihila space gates be increased? Currently there's limits depending on the level of the system, but with them being so large, will they even fit into Tech 10 gates? Thank you for the reminder, says Wilson. According to the game setting, the capital ships can't enter Nihila space via stargates or sinusoidal fields. This is good. This is actually good. Now, recently I talked about how I wasn't sure about I didn't like the idea of them adding carriers and capitals and dreadnoughts into anomalies, because to me it's making already difficult content even, like, not more difficult even, just longer, because these are tanky things that take a lot of destruction. And the concept that I kind of wanted to make there, because some people called me out on that and said, hang on, you've been saying that people should have more difficult encounters. Now you're saying you don't want capitals in anomalies? And yeah, I kind of, those two things do exist side by side. That, yeah, I don't want carriers and capitals in the current anomalies we have. I think if we're going to add capitals and carriers to anomalies, they should be in new ones, because I don't want carriers and capitals to, carriers and dreadnoughts to suddenly be the next big thing that everyone has to fly. I've already had to come to terms with the fact that if I want to be able to solo any meaningful content in PvE, I need a battleship. I've had to reskill into battleships on both my characters in order to do something. Now you're going to start adding capitals to everything, and that means, oh, we're going to need capitals now in order to do that same content. And that's just a power creep, and that's not fun. I've said before, I would be all for them adding capitals to new anomalies and new encounters and making those more lucrative because they're going to take longer to complete, but I just didn't want to completely null and void what we already have. Which is why I like the fact that capitals, the dreadnoughts and carriers, will not be able to enter into nihilist space. This means that if to do those, you still need to have access to smaller ships. Now, this is also a double-edged sword, because I've also historically said, and I know this is getting confusing, I've also said that, look, one of the big problems with them adding dreadnoughts and carriers right now is that there's no content for them. That if you want to PvE, doing it in a battleship works already. If you want to, get a capital or a dreadnought, a carrier or a dreadnought, you are going to have to dedicate your character's skill points to that one class of ships. And that one class is not capable, really, of soloing Tech 10 content, or at least we don't know. Maybe the carriers are capable of soloing that. We'll have to wait and see. Dreadnoughts I don't think are going to be capable of soloing much in the way of PvE content, just because they're going to really struggle to hit any of the smaller ships out there. So locking them out of nihilist space, I hear you. You're going to be saying that, hang on, Benzie, you wanted more content for the capital ships. Now you're happy that they're being locked out of content? Yes, because you can't just keep power creeping everything and making it also now you need a battleship to do this. Now you need a carrier in order to be able to do all of these things. Now, once we add super capitals, you're going to need a super capital to be able to turn up and do any of these fleet engagements and these big things. Where does it end? The idea is that you should create new content to fit new ships, not just try and shoehorn everything into the same thing, because then you just end up with a situation where one thing is categorically better than everything else, and currently that's battleships and interceptors. And I would really rather not get rid of the whole, oh yay, finally we solved the interceptor meta, because everyone's now flying capitals. Moving on, number 4, with capital ships coming, are you planning any discount on reskilling into them? I anticipate they will eat up a lot of skill points. That's putting it lightly. I've run the maths on this. You will be absolutely astonished at the numbers. It's frightening. I anticipate they'll eat up a lot of skill points, and saved a few free million skill points of training them from scratch is not a valid option to be able to fly them right away. I could make the argument here, and I'm going to jump in, that yes, a few millions isn't going to be enough at all. Like, that's not going to even dent capitals. You are going to need to dedicate, if you are a Tech 10 character who's been playing with Combo Omega and full-on cognitive neuroscience since day one, I do not believe you will be able to come close to maxing out capitals at this point. They are going to be that expensive based on current trends. Anyway, beyond that as well, I do kind of have to say that if you want to suddenly jump into a ship like this instantly on the day that they land, and I do apologise if you can hear Moogle meowing in the background, I promise you he's absolutely fine, he's just meowing because it's what he does. I think that if you want to have the privilege, and yes, I'm going to use that word, the privilege of jumping into capitals on day one when they land, yeah, you should probably have to pay for a respec using Plex. Like, look, I know that's going to be a contentious fact. I know that's something... Hey, Moogle, hello. I know that's something that people are going to comment in the comment section down below. Oh, God, I wish I had camera on right now. But that is my opinion, that if you want to be on a ground zero, day one adopter of capital ships, you probably should have to spend to, pay to respec your Plex. But, equally, I'm not averse to that. I'm just kind of marrying in my head the fact that the game needs to make money with the kind of user experience. Anyway, To go on here, he says it's Eve Echoes. Ships without skill get blown like nothing. Even top of the cream, big, nice ships. Well, yeah, it's also EVE Online is like that too. But hey, can't even undock them in EVE Online without the skills, you know? So we kind of get it a little bit better here in EVE Echoes. Anyway, thanks for your advice, says Cloud. It is a reasonable prediction. Yes, it is. We do expect to see strong demand for reallocating skill points after the capital ships come out. We will closely monitor player feedback and possibly launch a program that enables skill resetting. Now, as I said, I'm not against this. I think what they've suggested here, a program that enables skill resetting, is a good way to do this. Like having, I don't know, like a little mini battle pass or something, that as you do that, you earn like tokens towards being able to respec. Like, not, you don't earn plex, you earn kind of the equivalent in plex towards respecking. That's a good way of doing it. I do not believe, and this again is very contentious, I do not believe that people should just be given a free respec, because when we've had that historically, two things happen. One, people always complain, oh, it's not enough. The free stuff you're giving me isn't enough. And they go on bloody protest and just act like absolute entitled assholes. So there's a part of me that just wants to say, you know what? You've been rude about this in the past, so screw it. Don't get it this time. But I still want to help the community, so I have to push that little voice back a bit further. Ultimately, I'd think that if you start giving out free skill points, not only does it become an expectation that every time something new is added that a skill point reset is going to be there, it also gives the impression that you can kind of jump meta, and that's not what EVE should be about. You shouldn't need to be constantly jumping between different types of ships. And yes, you can make the argument that, oh, everyone wants to experience the new content. Yeah, and look what happened with exploration. We saw a whole bunch of people go, cool, I am reskilling all of this into exploration, and oh, it sucks. It really sucks, and I hate this. And now they feel worse than if they just hadn't done it in the first place. It's a mixed bag. It's a bit of a mixed bag, and I'm all for a system that allows you to earn a way to respec, but not one that just you know, allows you to just constantly click your fingers and bam, you're respecking, bam, you're respecking, bam, you're respecking, because that just encourages meta. Believe it or not, that kind of thing encourages meta. Look at games like World of Warcraft, where you can literally use gold to respec constantly, on the fly. All you need to do is warp back to a city, drop a couple of gold to a guy, and he will completely reset your talent tree. It gave the impression that there was always one talent tree that was better than the others, and you could just figure out your way towards that. And hey, like today's raid, we need you to be a healer, so you're going to respec into healer. Then this week's raid, we're going to be, you know, this one, so we're going to move you into that tree, and then this one into that tree, and you can just kind of move about all over the place. It's meta chasing, and it doesn't give you the ability to dedicate. Now, yes, World of Warcraft did eventually add dual talent trees, where you had two sets of skill points, talent points, that you could just flip between on the fly, and that does add a lot of versatility and creativity, and means you don't have to spend all this gold and stuff like that, but that's kind of where the analogy falls apart. I think in EVE, because skills are something that just you learn over time, and they just add over time, like if you stop playing the game today and come back in a week, you get more skill points. Like, they have accrued while you are not doing anything. You don't earn them. You just sit there and they happen. It's not like, again, World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, where you have to run around and kill things and do quests and then you level up and that gives you your points. You don't have that in EVE. So this whole thing of, oh, I need to have it right now, but I want it for free right now, I'm kind of against. There's a big part of me against that, and it's interesting that, and here we go, the people who will tell you that, no, it should be something that we all get for free right now, tend to be the same people who tell you that, you know, that same kind of behaviour in real life is absolutely abhorrent and socialism is going to destroy the planet. I just think that, simply put, in the game like this, the fact that you are earning skill points over time is enough. You shouldn't just be getting free skill points, free respecs constantly. The occasional one when the developers completely goof up, yeah, fair point. A system like this that could allow you to earn a respec, yeah, I'm all for that too. I think that's a really innovative way of doing it. Making it so they can earn it through gameplay rather than just having to dump money, I'm all for that, and I think that's a really nice way of doing it. And I know I've said a lot of really contentious stuff there. My throat is hurting, so I am going to wrap this up at this point in time. But my goodness, I do have to say as well, how awesome is the new loading screen here. Now, I am going to try and find a way to host this online, because I've already had some people saying, wouldn't it be lovely to use this as a wallpaper for your phone? Yeah, it actually really works, because if you turn it sideways, it still works as a wallpaper either way up. I just love the fact you've got a Macariel, you've got a Brutix, you've got the Nightmare, the Prophecy, and in the distance there you can see some others as well. I think there's a Harbinger coming out, possibly, I think there's a Wreckage, not entirely certain, but we'll have to see. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on these questions in the comment section down below. Would love to hear your opinions. Please don't crucify me all that much for having a contentious opinion. I promise you, as always, I have the game and its community at heart. That is what I care about the most. It's not about me and my playstyle, because most of the things that I actually, talk about are things that don't help my playstyle. I want people to have fun in this game, and sometimes giving people everything for free takes away the fun. Believe me, I've got access to Fulmination Content Creator Test server where I can type in a code and oh look, there's the latest greatest ship with all of the fittings I need at full max level, and it gets boring. It gets boring, and people start to quit at that point if there's nothing to work towards. So I think you need to understand that sometimes getting it all for free instantly just doesn't help. Anyway, folks, I've been Captain Benzie. Hope you've really enjoyed this one. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and don't crucify me. Otherwise, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.